And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you came back because you wanted more. Folks, that was a brilliant move because we have a lot more for you. Now, why do we have so much more for you? Because this is the podcast. It's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And our guest today is, wait for it, a podcaster, amongst other things. And I mean many other things, folks. Wait until you get to meet this young lady. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic ride. So strap in and let's get ready to rumble. This is the place where we all come together to raise each other up. And this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So let's get sailing and bring in our guest today. Keynote speaker, founder, homesteader, parent, host of the Seed and Society podcast. Please welcome Makeda Boehm to the show. Makeda, how are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for having me here, Rory.
Oh, I love that you're here. I cannot wait to get into some of these topics with you, hear all about your podcast. And I did get a chance to listen to it. Love it. You're doing some good stuff there. Keep it going. And all right, so as we get rolling, tell everybody a little bit about who is Makeda. What are you about? What's your story? How'd you end up podcasting?
Yeah, thank you. So I am, like I said, like you said, a homesteader new. I started this year, but I'm out here on 10 acres. Most importantly, I'm a mom. I have two amazing children, a 5-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old son, and I live out here with my wonderful husband. I also am a founder of Seed and Society, as well as the Seed and Society podcast. And I really just truly enjoy connecting people, talking to people, especially parents, and helping them with sovereignty. I'm a keynote speaker. I love teaching people how to take fast action and build lasting confidence so that they can create the life of their dreams. And I also work in tech sales. So before I sold to higher education institutions, now I sell to state government, so public sector, and really helping constituent engagement and helping government work better for the people. So I do a little bit of everything. I'm a
My
little
goodness.
busy.
I mean, just helping government work better for the people all by itself, pretty huge task. So, so
Yes, it is.
I applaud your efforts right out of the gate. Holy cow. Okay, so well let's start. You're huge in tech sales, and I know you've been very successful there. But that's not kind of how you started out, I don't think. Did you like grow up going, "Hey, I want to be in tech sales one day"? What's your story like, coming up through the world?
Absolutely not. And will talk about that, but I didn't even know that tech sales was an option 4 years ago. This came out of the pandemic. In my previous life, was a teacher. So I did
Ah,
teaching and then I went into scientific sales and then I went into tech sales. But yeah, really just from my experience, I got my GED at 16. I've been on my own in some capacity since then. I grew up in Philadelphia. And as an alternative senior year, I did City Year, which is AmeriCorps, kind of like the Peace Corps, but in America. So my
mm.
first job was essentially very heavy duty volunteering. I'm talking 50 hours a day, 50-hour weeks. Not 50 hours in a day, but 50-hour weeks. And I was the youngest person in the Corps at 17. So when I went to college, still on time, it was somewhat easier because already I was used to working very hard. And so when I had to work 3 jobs through college to support myself through it and to get through it, it was definitely challenging, but it wasn't impossible. I feel like that foundation really helped me to rise to the occasion.
Wow. I mean, that's some serious work, especially for someone that age. I mean, if you haven't been exposed to it,
Yeah,
then I mean that could be some serious culture shock. You didn't have the
absolutely.
say you didn't have the
Yeah.
easiest time growing up. It doesn't sound like.
No, but again, I'm from Philadelphia. I think that's all very relative. I am a person who went to 22 schools
Wow.
on 3 continents. So I've gone to school in Ghana, I've gone to school in Rome, I've gone to school from Florida all the way up to Philadelphia or Connecticut. So I think as somebody who has had so many experiences in so many different places, I understand that everything, and I do mean everything, is relative. So I still feel like I am extremely fortunate. I do feel like I'm extremely privileged because being in America alone has given me a lot of access to a lot of opportunities that I possibly wouldn't have had, or at least in the same way in other places. I am on my dad's side, I grew up with my paternal grandfather, Jamaican American. So my mom, born in America, but my dad's side, who I grew up with, were a lot of immigrants, and I always heard that this is the land of opportunity. And I talk about that, how my pop came here with two suitcases, and going from being a radio technician and fixing stuff to sweeping floors when he came here and bringing his six children over, and all of my aunts were able to go to college and create a kind of life. So, like I said, I just think everything is very relative. If you are willing to work hard, and of course, there needs to be opportunity. Of course, there's some luck in there and, other nuance in there. But I do believe truly, if you're willing to take action and work, you can have the life of your dreams. And I like to say I'm living proof of that, but I'm also really excited that I talk to other people who are living proof of that. And it's virtually everybody, if you know where to look.
Wow. I love the attitude, and I love the idea of taking fast action. I coach podcasters and speakers, and that's one of the things I coach them on all the time is you're never going to be fully ready. You know what? Do your one episode, launch, go,
Yes.
just start. And so I love that premise. And that seems pretty prevalent in the different things you're doing here.
Absolutely. Everything that I've done, literally is the case of getting started because what I really do talk about is that nothing replaces doing the thing like doing the thing. And what I talk about is that you have action, which leads into evidence, data, feedback. And the faster you start, the more you can pivot, you can understand what you really like, what you don't like, instead of living in this in your head or feeling like I need to get the next credential, I need to get the next certificate. If only this, then I do this. And what I've learned is that that just puts people's lives on hold. That's where regret comes from. That's where imposter syndrome comes from. And that's where stalling comes from. Everything is going to be messy. Everything you do, there was a first time you did it. And the more that you do whatever it is you're trying to do, that is what builds that evidence, which creates that confidence, which gets you those results.
Nice, nice. And you're so confident too with the way you're saying it. You're just like,
Yeah.
here it is, just like it's just the truth, and that's that. I'm eating it up, so I absolutely love it. I love your attitude. So keep that coming. You got to keep me going because it's been a long day, and I'm down to my last cup of coffee, so I need your energy here. That's absolutely fantastic. But and you and I talking in the pre-interview, it was I was getting fascinated with some of the things you were telling me because you've got people come on here and they say, "Hey, this is what I do, and here it is," and that's great. But you have this like whole cohesive plan. Like, here's this piece, and here's how it all comes together. I don't know where you want to start with that, but you want to tell people what that's all about?
Yeah, so okay, when I launched Seed in Society earlier this year, I didn't even, and we can talk about that. I didn't do my first podcast episode until May. I started Seed in Society with a newsletter. I was like, okay, I've achieved whatever this is that I've achieved in the corporate world. President's Club, making close to $500,000 last year in commission and having this now 10-acre homestead in Tennessee mortgage free. And for me, it was these are the decisions that I make. And one thing I'll say is that a lot of times the thing that comes easy to you or is that duh thing to you is not that to other people. Like every single person has something they can offer the world, give to the world, or even just by existing in the world in their authenticity. So what happened was I launched Seed in Society as a newsletter to talk about asset-based wealth and sovereignty and why we were out here in a town with no stoplights and creating this life and why I was going to start homesteading, and I just wanted to document the journey. And with starting is how I've gotten to all of these amazing things, how I got into podcasting. I didn't even listen to podcasts before. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know how to record it, and I just did it. So this is why I birthed Seed in Society, and then the connectors method came in because it was
Mm.
people kept asking, "How did you do it?" And it was like, "Oh, this kind of is replicable. What are the things that I keep doing? What keeps popping up that allowed me to do that?" And then I had the connectors market. And I say all this as well to say that I specifically started my business with the idea that it is a business, so it needs to generate income and it has to generate the kind of income because I truly believe everybody can be a millionaire. I do not think six figures is enough. I don't think it's if you sacrifice your $5 coffee and just budget better that you will get out of it. And I
Yeah.
realized that this isn't like a super common message because we've been told so long that when you make six figures, you know, that $100,000 mark, you've made it. And that's just not true. A lot of
Yeah.
people who make six figures are living paycheck to paycheck and they don't have another stream of income. They're one layoff away from absolute financial ruin, especially if they have a mortgage and they don't own anything, if they don't really have assets. And as somebody who has been homeless, who understands housing insecurity, I just thought that this message was so important to share and not from a quit your job perspective. I don't believe in that at all. I think that that's actually pretty irresponsible advice. Anybody who has started a business, which I know now, knows that it takes time and it takes time to be profitable. But you should absolutely be starting another stream of income and not just your 401k, because then you're still at the whims of the market. So, what is it that you're interested in? What do you already use? What do you already do that you can monetize? And even if that's a simple affiliate strategy or creating some content and getting some kind of income or creating a course. So, me going down to this whole road to answer that question, what are other ways you can monetize while being in the homestead, spending time with your children, hanging out, sleeping? How can you make money while you sleep? That is how this whole ecosystem has started and why we're talking now.
Uh, Boom. I mean, there's a mic drop right there. I love it. That was great. And so, a couple things that I want to unpack here because everybody talks about side hustles, and we've all heard a million times. You are an advocate of really, though, working the job to fund the side hustle, to fund the connector method. Am I picking that up right?
Absolutely, but I also believe I'm also a advocate of employment for a lot of people. Everybody does not want to be a CEO or a founder, or even with
Right.
this, I'm very much passionate and I talk about this being a solopreneur journey. I am not going on the path intentionally to have employees or to raise a series A or a series C. Like that sounds terrible to me personally for where I am right in this moment. That is
Yeah.
not what I'm trying to build. But I also believe having aligned work. So where I worked last year, I was truly passionate about that. But now where I'm at, where again, I get to help constituent engagement and help people, like I believe in the mission of helping government run better. So I think that you can absolutely, that's why I say parents building careers and companies. A lot of people worked very hard for their career. They love being the chief marketing officer or the director of communications in a corporate capacity. And a lot of people like PTO someone else is handling their taxes. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But what I do truly believe is, are you just spending and having lifestyle creep and buying the newest car and having burnout because that's what you want? And waiting till you're 65 to retire because that's what they told you? Or are you putting systems into place so that you can have true time freedom so you can do the jobs you want to do, you can do the work you want to do, and you can show up more involved and more passionate about it? And a lot of times, I don't think a lot of people even think about that. They just are like, this is the way it is. And that's that thing that comes easy to me that doesn't necessarily come easy to everyone else. I question everything. I am a questioner. I'm the one who's raising my hand in class. I'm the one raising my hand at work. And that's just why I started Seed in Society, because I wanted people to really ask themselves the question, like, if I lost my paycheck for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, what would that look like? If I couldn't pay my mortgage for 4 or 5 months, does that mean I'm now homeless? Like, and what have I been doing to make sure that I don't have some of those inefficiencies and some of those risks within my life so that I can build true generational wealth so that my children also have options and choices, not just whatever they can get?
Nice. So the homesteading part of this, because I know you mentioned that and we haven't gotten into that too much. That's a key component to this then, isn't it?
Absolutely. We all need food to live, right? Like, we
Yeah.
know that. And I think COVID especially was a huge wake-up call for a lot of people. For me, it was one of those things where you kind of think it may happen. My husband is an Army veteran. He was in intelligence. So it's one of those things where you understand how quickly things can switch. And again, it's that intellectually I understand that. But COVID forced everyone into fast action and understanding exactly what happens if things shut down just for a couple of weeks, never less 30 days, and shelves were empty. People could not get access to basic necessities. We were in Houston when it first happened. And it became very clear to me that we should have some of the very basic abilities to grow our food, right? Because I think that I follow a lot of like homesteaders on Instagram, and now I've done like a gardening mentorship, and now I actually have planted things from seed for the first time this year, and I've documented it. And nothing prepared me like doing it. Like, I've had pest pressure, I've had certain things die. I don't know how to save my kale, but I've also had cucumbers, and I didn't expect how much my daughter loves to go out and harvest during her lunchtime because we moved towards homeschooling.
Hmm.
And just all of, and also the connection. Like, I was just out in my garden before this, taking the walk around, like my feet literally in the soil. And even though you have some bugs or whatever, it's just like it forces you to slow down because you can't put that seed in the ground and then go, tomato, hurry up. Like, I need this tomorrow. It's like it's going to grow on its own time. And it's taught me how to be more connected with myself, with my children, with my family, and to also know that once you plant that seed, something's going to happen, but you have to plant it. So you have to start.
Right. So we're back to that take fast action thing again. Get the
It
seed in
comes
the ground.
back. It comes back in every aspect. Anything you do, it's like, oh, it's because I started. That's why I
Right.
have this feedback. That's why I have this data. That's why I have the confidence that I can say it, that I can do it, that I can get through. And it's one of those things I talk about because literally confidence comes from action, not before action. And a lot of times, I don't think people think about it that way. It's like, oh, if I just was a little bit more ready. And it's like, no, it's that messy action. And it's when you learn how to take stock. So I call it your evidence library. When
Hmm.
you learn to take stock of the things you've gone through in life. So when I started Tech Sales, like I said, I didn't know what an account executive was, but I was an account manager before. I didn't know where software as a service was, but I sold scientific testing. And when I started that job, I had no idea what radiocarbon 14 even meant. But by the end of it, I could tell you about the mass spectrometer and what it is that people were using and what it is for the rings and carbon dating, and that if anything says artificial flavors, that means it has petroleum in it, right? Like a lot of times jobs are learning experiences. You learn and you just know that if you have certain core skills, which for me is curiosity, the ability to research, the ability to say I don't know and figure it out, then you can succeed at almost any role, because nobody went into any type of job or any type of activity being born an expert. You learned it by doing. And
Wow.
you just look at the different aspects in your life. And a big thing I like to point out to people too is to borrow evidence. You can borrow confidence. That's what comes from seeing what your parents have done. What I've noticed from a lot of entrepreneurs is that they had entrepreneurial parents. So they already knew that they could run a business. Or other doctors. They've had doctors who were, their parents were doctors, or their friend, or somebody in their circle. And that's why representation is so important, because once you've seen that something could be done as well, that helps you to take the action to start.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Now the connector method, I know you have some stuff coming out. Is this something that you are teaching currently? You're going to be teaching soon? Because this is a pretty well thought through and laid out idea and program here for folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's my framework, the connector method framework, and it literally is a circle. It's a feedback loop. It starts with action, and then you move to evidence. And that can be mistakes, that can be lessons. Actually, you tend to learn more from mistakes, right? Like you burn yourself, you know that you don't want to do it again. And then you get to confidence, because now I took the action, I got feedback. And the cool thing about that is that sometimes you learn that what you even thought you wanted to do, you actually don't even like it. I started down this path. I actually cannot stand it. Thank goodness I didn't now spend years or hundreds of thousands of dollars to figure this out, because that's when you get into sunk cost fallacy. It's my favorite thing from my MBA that I learned. I have a podcast episode on it, because a lot of times people are like, well, I already spent years in this awful relationship, or I already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in this direction. So now I have to keep going, instead of being like, well, now I'm just going to, I already know I don't like it. I already know I don't want to do this. Let me leave that. And then you get confidence to go into your results or your next outcome authentically. Because now it's like, instead of me going on this timeline that someone else said I need to do, hey, I'm 30, I need to have 2.5 kids, a white picket fence, a mortgage, a job. It's like, no, I started it. I actually don't want that. I don't like that. And now I can live an authentic life. And that's why I say the outcomes or the transformational results is the life of your dreams, because you started and you're actually paying attention to the feedback and the data, so that you can now confidently move into the direction that's right for you.
So well said. Okay. So are you teaching this? I tell you what, we're going to talk about the podcast now. We're going to move into the podcast, but you've got a couple things coming up. You want to tease those real quick, let everybody know a little bit while we're talking about it, and then we'll dive into the podcast.
Absolutely. And this has come a part of the journey. I started with my keynote speaking, and I am pitching that. And that's where the connector method came from. And I was like, well, I should write a book about this as well, because it very much can help anybody, but especially people who want to build confidence and want to take action and want to build wealth and have the outcomes in the life of their dreams. And then the natural extension for that was a workshop and a course. Like, how can you help people do this? Because it is a framework, it is a somewhat replicable process with whatever you want to apply it to. So that is being built. The course is being built, the book is being written, and these conversations are being had just so people can have that idea. Because I'm a big believer that if I can change one person's life, or this thought can help one person to think about this thing differently or that they've never even thought about, then I am making an impact and I'm living in my purpose.
100%. Love that whole thought process. And all this stuff is on its way, but the podcast is here now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
oh yeah. How long you been doing the podcast? How many episodes you got?
So I started this podcast in May, like the last week of May. And think this week I'm releasing like episode 29,
Hmm.
30. And when I started out, that's why I love this. This is honestly, the podcast is what got me to the connector method and understanding it. Like I said, I had no idea about podcasts. I probably listened to a couple. I'm not like a big person who has a lot of attention span, except now I listen to podcasts almost daily. I love the medium. I understand what it is about, and I get so many great ideas. But when I started, I was like, okay, well, since I don't really listen to podcasts, 15 minutes or less, 3 times a week, because I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do it. And when I first started, my husband is a producer. He's owned a recording studio for like 15 years. He's a Grammy voting member. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to start and he's going to do my editing. Absolutely not. We have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. He is a perfectionist, is honestly where the just start message comes from. He very much likes things to be particular, and he'll sit on beautiful music for years. And I'm like, please release this album. I would download it a year ago. So I had to learn. I got on like Riverside FM and started editing. I edit my own podcast still because I'm still creating the voice and what it is that I want it to say. And then I got to the point where I don't even really edit besides taking out like extended pauses or like a crazy. So my first 13 episodes were basically solo. It was my first like 6 were audio only. And then
Mhm.
I was like, okay, well, a lot of people like video and then I can't put it on YouTube. Just put up my webcam and was like, all right, we're on video today. Oh, I need to make a thumbnail. Never thought of that before. Got on Canva, learned how to make a thumbnail, right? Like, of course, I'm going through and you realize some of the mistakes you made, but nothing would have prepared me like actually doing it. You just don't get like it's so easy to watch a video. I think somebody gave an example of you can watch a video of a competitive swimmer and them explaining all the techniques of swimming and this is how you do it. And when you go in the pool, you're not just going to come out and be an Olympic swimmer. It's through the practice of doing it. But you cannot outsource everything. And I think that's really important for founders and I know talking about that with like podcasters, anything you're starting, outsourcing something from the start means that you never get to truly understand the mechanics.
Yep.
So then you
Wow.
never get to be able to do it. Teach a man to fish and he'll eat
Mhm.
forever, right? Versus giving them a fish.
Yep.
So it's that same thing with anything that you're starting. It's better to do it messy, do it imperfectly, just get started so you can at least understand how to coach someone and what it is that you want, so you can understand what your vision is, how something can look as a container, and so that it always stays yours in some capacity. And yeah, I just think that that was super important. And that's how I started my podcast, and I'm doing it and I love it. And I get to have amazing conversations with so many people who are doing really great things in regards to like asset-based wealth, unconventional wealth strategies, like branding and anything I'm interested in that helps with this mission that I started with Seed in Society. I have a guest on who is teaching me and teaching my audience at the same time, and that is the highlight of my week outside of like hanging out with my children.
Mm. I love it. Absolutely love it. I've done between all my podcasts and guesting and everything, I'm just short of 700 episodes, and I could not agree with you more with what you just said.
That is incredible.
All of it. So, if that helps at all, I'm just over here going, yes, love it. People get so wrapped up in perfection in our business. It's like, you're not Joe Rogan. You're not going to be Joe Rogan at the end of this editing session. Give it up, put it out, move on, and
And
keep
you
going.
don't want to be, right? Like you have a certain message that is for you. And I think how I went into podcasting as well was understanding it as a somewhat of a marketing strategy,
Mm.
of a lead magnet strategy. Because like I said, I started Seed in Society thinking of monetization, meaning how the business makes money from the start. And I think a lot of people go into podcasting thinking that this is what's going to make you rich, like just show up and you'll get the brand deals, and that is that. And a lot of people, what I hear, especially as I've gone down this road, is that you should be sponsoring your podcast. Your best sponsor is you for whatever product, whether it's a course, whether it is a service, an offer, whatever it is else that you do outside of the podcast should be bringing awareness to that. The top 1% of podcasters make 90% of the revenue. And 90% of podcasters quit by episode 3. So literally when you're going out there, like if you understand some of the numbers, then you understand how to go into it and think about like, okay, maybe the podcast itself won't make me this revenue, but it will draw people into my ecosystem so that they can actually help support this mission.
Once again, you are singing to the choir with the host today. I love this.
Nice.
All of you out there who have heard me say this 14,000 times, now you got somebody else. I didn't prep her for this. I didn't say, hey, please make sure you mention this. No, she's just coming up with all this on her own. All right. So, I
So now
mean,
you have a new listener as
there
well,
you
because a podcast for podcasters,
go.
that is me.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. I love what you had to say there. I was going to ask you about that, and I could tell you're a podcast host because you're doing the segue for me. I'm over here going, okay, yep. Because I was going to ask you, how do you use the podcast for the rest of your business? How does it play in? And have you gotten to monetize it yet? And you're like, bing, 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 covering all your own questions. I'm just sitting back. If I don't know it was going to be this easy, I'd have brought a sandwich.
Well, so I think it's really important to be transparent, right? Like I went into this because I think it's very easy for us to be in the age of AI. Like that was one of the brand pillars, that is one of the brand pillars for Seed in Society, which is how I was able to take more fast action. I think that like you've done 700 episodes, you're an expert in this, you coach people in it, you've been doing it for years. How can someone like me who may not know, like I went probably 15 episodes before I knew Podmatch existed, right? And then was like, hey, I need to start having guests on. I didn't understand why people would have guests at first. So it's really been a learning and building experience, and it's been an experience of, well, how do you actually monetize? Because monetizing online is not that simple. People who are doing it are like have figured something out, and again, just because something is simple doesn't mean it's easy. They're not synonymous.
True.
So it's not very easy to necessarily make money online unless you're extremely clear about your value and what it is that you offer and who you offer it for, especially again in the age of AI. So I've been learning that. I've been learning that journey. I didn't know what a funnel was. I didn't know what these automations were in a sense, because of course I do it in my tech sales capacity, but it looks very different when you're selling to enterprise buyers and you're selling $1 million software versus like, hey, here goes my $200 course. And you would think that that would be easier, but in a lot of ways it's not, because you don't know who I am. You don't know why you should do this. And I've just been really learning to get clear. And then I deleted all my social media in 2020 outside of LinkedIn. I did not have an Instagram. I don't hang out on YouTube. I still don't have a TikTok. So I'm coming into it from this like real world perspective in some ways. I think content creation is absolutely real world, but I'm coming from a world where I maybe like got on Reddit for the first time 2, 3 years ago. So this is a very different world for me. So I'm learning it, but I started and now I know so much more than I knew just 4 months ago or now 5 months ago than if I would have waited until next year to be like, okay, well, I'm just going to do all the research and I'm going to have everything written out perfectly. Like, is anyone a parent? Because you could do all the research in the world. They send you home with that baby, and it is not the same that you studied, that you read. And then it's super fun because you have baby number two and you're like, oh, I'm a pro now. I did this. And my son is nothing like my daughter. He didn't want to nurse the same way. He doesn't like the same shows. He doesn't want to play with the same toys. It was like doing it again. So it's kind of like that, like how they say the best parents are the ones who have never raised children. It's very easy to say how something should be if you've never actually done it. So it's that same thing with social media where it's like, well, why don't I have 1 million followers or 1 million downloads? You can't be doing this right. And it's like, there's some people who have 300 followers who are making $1 million a year, and there's some people who have 1 million followers who are broke because it really is about having a strategy, not just attention for attention's sake.
I mean, you are just throwing out gold right now
Yeah.
to everybody. This is like you're literally teaching a master class on podcasting right here on my show. I could not be asking for more out of you right now. It's absolutely fantastic. So, thank you for everything you're bringing to the show,
Thank
and
you.
and I have to agree with you on the parenting thing. I'm an empty nester, 3 kids, raised them all the way up. I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm still trying to figure it all
Yes.
out. So I totally get you. You're bringing up so many great points. Let me pause for a second on all the great points and ask you kind of my corny question because I really do like to get it, and it's a superstitious thing for me.
Okay.
And I got to stop because honestly, you're making me look bad. You're giving everybody so much good advice. So I'm just like, whoa. But, so the corny question is this: when it comes to doing your podcast, what is it about doing your podcast that you just love the most? And what is it about doing your podcast that you just absolutely throw it out the window, cannot stand, hate the most?
Wow. Okay, now I get what you mean about things being a little bit stumped. So the love the most is easy. I love the conversations that I have. I love that I'm able to, even when it's a solo episode, right? Because sometimes something sits on your heart and you realize that this would be good for your audience. I love that I now have a kind of a format to be able to organize those thoughts to be cohesive, to put value into the world and my perspective into the world. And I love that I get to have conversations with amazing people who are kind of on the same energetic vibration or frequency. And that was what I made Seed in Society for, to be like your vibe attracts your tribe. So if you're being genuinely authentic, not performing for what you think the algorithm or whoever is, but you're actually trying to genuinely attract your people and people who can help expand your thoughts and your ideas, but are within the same realm. It's beautiful. I get off of these conversations and I go and tell my husband, I'm just like, that's amazing. Like, it was amazing. Like, this is so cool because you realize that you're not alone. And that's why I really love the internet in general. It's why I used to love hashtags because you think you're alone and you click on one and it's someone on the other side of the world who just wrote that same hashtag in the last minute. And you just really realize how interconnected we are, how we're more alike than different, and how we truly are, we truly do want the same things, which is peace, our family's safety, a roof over our head, food in our belly, and the ability to live free. Of course, that is different for a lot of people, but it's truly what we want. The thing that I don't like, that is a hard question. I guess I will say the timeline that I put myself on, I make sure that I release an episode every week. Even when I started, I was very clear in my like newsletter when I was introducing this that Seed in Society is about time freedom. It is about making sure that whatever I'm building works around life, not stressing it out. So that's why we went from 3 episodes a week to one. That's why we changed it from 15 minutes an episode to actually having the conversation and allowing it to breathe, because very rarely can you get great insights in 15 minutes. So now, some of my episodes are 45 minutes. My latest one was like an hour and 5 minutes, like really allowing the guest to speak. And I guess the pressure that I do put on myself to make sure I at least put out an episode each week um, could somewhat be my least favorite, but I also like it because it forces me to remain consistent and remain committed to this podcast and to the ideals that I started with, instead of being like, oh, I'll do it next week. And then that next week turns to next month, and you become one of the like 95% who don't get past episode like 7. It's very rare to get to even episode 20. And then the people who've gotten to 100 or 700 or whatever, it's because they're committed and they're consistent and they understand their purpose and why they're doing it rather than making it a vanity project. And that's what keeps me posting consistently, but also having grace with myself that now my episodes basically come out every Sunday. Like that is when you're going to get it. I don't want to admit like say it's going to be a Sunday episode because maybe one day I'll drop one on a Thursday. Not likely. They've been coming out Sunday.
I love the process, and and thank you for those answers. I know those aren't always easy, and I always spring that question on folks, so I never prepare them for that one. But also you bring up a great point that I want to make sure we're pointing out to everybody because I say this a lot. There are no rules in podcasting. This is the wild, wild west out here. We make our own rules, and it's vitally important that when you're doing your podcast, that you're doing things that make sense for you. And so, yeah, if you start off doing 5 episodes a week, it doesn't matter. And you're like, whoa, this is too much. And you want to cut it back, cut it back. If you can't get it out on that one day, okay, you know what? No one's going to come take away your podcasting license. You just put it out the next day and then get back on that day when you're ready. You know what I mean? There's no
Yeah.
actual rules. So you really have to do what's right for you and make the changes when you have to make them. So I applaud you for doing that as well, because that's how you stay in this business. That's how you keep podcasting.
Yeah. I love that you said that because I feel like that is what I've just learned through this journey, right? Like I feel like you launch to your email list of 5 and then it becomes a 160 and literally people are like, "Well, what are they going to think about me?" Or if I post this comment or I post this video, well, what are people going to think? And it's like no one's thinking about you. Like your audience is not really an audience yet. And even if
Right.
it does get bigger, there's a reason people say bad press is good press because that means people are talking about you. That means you have some form of attention. And if you have a solid monetization structure or a solid idea of how you make money, then you can utilize that to funnel people into your services or into your product. So when I first launched my newsletter and I launched like my first digital playbook, first 100 people get this bonus and no one signed up. No one wanted it. all I was first, you're a little embarrassed, like, whoa, can I like take this down now? But I also did it that way so I didn't have to write something if no one was going to buy it. So I was like, oh, well, I said this releases on April 26th or whatever. Like, this is like a month into me doing a newsletter. And I'm just like, well, I put out an offer, people are going to get it. And no one signed it. So I was like, actually, this means I don't need to write it. And this means I can pay attention to what people actually want. And I often say that embarrassment is a low vibrational frequency. Like, I do not reside there. Those who mind don't matter. Those who matter don't
Don't
mind. In
mind.
the lovely words of Dr. Seuss, I tell my daughter that all the
Yeah,
time. I probably say it on podcasts all the time because I truly mean that. Like, everyone will not like you. It is a physical impossibility for every single person to like you because every single person doesn't like the same thing. And if
right.
you're wasting your time trying to appeal to what you think people want instead of just being who you actually are and what impact you're trying to have in the world, not what someone says you should have, then you're wasting your time. And that's why you don't release the video. That's why you don't release the podcast. That's why you don't release the newsletter or the product or the course or the whatever it is, because you're more worried about what people who aren't even thinking about you are thinking than what you're thinking. And just like quickly on that, I read like a really great quote for that where it's like the millionaire will never judge someone for starting a business. The athlete will never judge someone for going into the gym. Like the people who are doing it will never judge you for trying because if you're doing it, you understand how much more difficult it is than the people on the sideline who love to point and laugh while they're going to a job that they hate and they don't know what it is that they're doing and they don't have a plan either because usually if you're someone who is a little bit more financially stable in my circles, at least in my world, you want that for other people. If you're someone that is genuinely a loving person and a kind person, you feel that joy so deeply like I do that you want the world to have that. Like you want people to know what it is to wake up and genuinely love their lives, like genuinely love being here. Like I am so fortunate to have that. I know what it is to not have that. So that's why I want to share it so much so that people know it comes from just starting. Literally. The thing you're stressing about, the thing you're planning about, the tomorrow, the someday, the I'm not ready, like the other side of that only gets there by taking action.
Love it. Well, Makeda, you don't have to worry about low vibrations. You are vibing very high. Let me just tell you, you are
Thank you.
vibing way up here, and I love it. I love every minute of it. Let me ask you this. We're bringing things to a close, but I am curious in terms of your guests. What's your goal with the guests in particular, and how do you decide who you bring on the show?
Yeah, so I really am big on making sure that it's people who are doing the thing that they're talking about, or at least have some kind of experience or some kind of receipts, for lack of a better term, of what they're doing. Like they're ready to share the story about it, the strategy. They're excited about what it is that they're doing, what field it is that they're in, and they have that same passion to help people avoid some of the pitfalls or some of the mistakes that came from not having that experience. So, like, my show is really about building real wealth, and it's about building wealth through land, digital tools, strategic life design without burnout. And there are people who have figured it out. I've had people who've come on the show and now they have, six-figure passive income, or they've been financial planners with Merrill Lynch and everything. And they left from that because they realized the system isn't meant to really help people get off the hamster wheel. And now they're really passionate about changing your mindset around money so that you can have more of it. Or I've had people who come on about money manifestation or just whatever it is. They're really passionate about branding. They're really passionate about the creator economy. One person I have on recently has over 160,000 followers. And it is a big deal in that sense because if you're going to now talk about branding and you're going to talk about strategy and making money on YouTube, as they've made multiple six figures, it helps when you see people who have actually done it versus just talking about doing it. And that's a standard I hold myself to. Like I am very open and honest that I am building and I am learning and that I don't know all the things, then I will never know all the things because every single person you meet knows at least 10 things, and that is such a low number that you don't know. And let's add in languages times 8 billion people. So that is at least a trillion things you don't even know. And now let's add all the things you don't know that you don't know enough about, right? So that means we're always learning. There is never, like, I don't see an end to seed in society because there's never an end to learning. There will always be a question. And if you stay curious and you stay having questions, then life can't ever be boring. It's just like how there's still like suffering in the world. There's still homelessness. There's still food insecurity. There's still war. There's still genocide. There's still all these things. So I don't know how you can ever be bored or done because the work is there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding you. No, I love that. You're completely right on all of it. As we kind of wrap this up and bring this home, I still have one more question I want to ask you. But before we
Yeah.
do that, how can everybody reach you? Let's make sure we cover that because I don't want to forget it. What are your website, things like that? Best way to reach Makeda?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I try to keep it simple. Seedandsociety.com. You can find me on all socials, except for TikTok, at Seed and Society. Nothing against it. I just, my attention span, I will get there eventually, but what I learned with starting this was you do not want to try and master all the things at
No,
one time, then you
no.
master nothing.
Right.
So at least start with the one you like to be on. The one place on LinkedIn that I was the only social media I didn't delete because that's how I've actually found jobs and and you're filled. If you're not on LinkedIn and you're in corporate, you don't really exist and you kill your chances. So
For
I'm
sure.
on LinkedIn at Makeda Boehm. And makedaboehm.com. That'll be launching as well, just within the system. So that's an easy way to find me. I do have a cool freebie on there, which is 5 systems to make money from what you know. You can just download that and really just already get started in figuring out how can I just make money from what things that I already use and stuff that I already do. And at least put it out there because you never know. But when you don't put something out there and you don't try, then you do know. It's kind of like a lottery ticket. You can't win if you don't buy the ticket.
Right on. Right on.
Yeah.
All right, those that stuff will be in the show notes too, but I want to make sure we got it into the recorded part here so people can find it. Last question that I like to wrap with everybody is you haven't been doing this in terms of podcasting very long, but you're already doing it well. And so I'm sure you've learned a couple of things along the way, and you
Thank you.
talked about some of those today. So, what is your best piece of advice for podcasters who are out there who are not quite where you are yet?
That is a great question. Not to continue to say the same thing, but also, yes, to continue to say, when you think of Makeda Boehm, I start my podcast now and I say, it's your chief action officer because I want you to take action. start. Do not wait until you have the perfect set. I've been doing my set in my she shed since I started, right? Like if I waited for my podcast studio to be done, I would not have 30 episodes already. I would have none, right? Like I wait till my husband takes the kids out, or I throw in my AirPods and record the episode anyway. Just get started. Get started messy, because whatever idea you have in your head, when once you start, it'll start to refine itself. It'll start to change. You'll start to fall into your flow and understand what it is that you actually want to put into the world. Like I was not so sure about the connector method even 2 months ago, even a month ago. That is how fast I iterate. My friends often call me the woman of 100 lives. They don't know what I'm doing. They'll be like, "Hey, how's Paris?" I'm like, "I'm in Amsterdam." They'll be like, "I know you've been living in Denver for a while. How's that?" I'm like, "I live in Vegas now." Like literally when I say I just go for it and do it, because you can make mistakes, and that can absolutely be sad. But what people say almost overwhelmingly on their deathbed is the regrets they have for the things they didn't do. And life is so short. It is not worth it to be worried about what XYZ person is going to think, which is why you're not living in your purpose. So if you have the podcast in your head, you've started the podcast, do it. Just start and do it. Use AI, get more information, learn from wonderful people like Rory, who has been on over 700 podcasts, who knows what the heck he's talking about. Take your ego out of it. Learn and grow and see what other people are doing. Listen to other podcasts. That is how I've become a better podcaster. And I see my downloads go up so much more since I've looked at what other people are doing. There is no new thoughts or ideas under the sun, just different ways of expressing them. Your voice matters. It is different, even if you feel like you're saying what someone else has said. Great. Welcome to the club of everybody. So get started.
Wow. All right. What an unbelievable answer to that question. Makeda, you've been amazing as a guest today.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much. I mean, I'm still laughing because I'm just having a blast. This is great.
Awesome.
Just listening to you, I feel like I'm a fan instead of the host, which is
Aw,
just great.
thank you.
So I'm definitely going to be following you as you progress. Can't wait to see the book coming out and the course and everything else. I'd love to have you back on again in the future if you're open to that, to talk about new things that are coming up.
Absolutely.
All right. I tell you what, that's
I
that's
can
wonderful.
promise you, Rory, this time next year, or this time in 2 months, this time in 60 days, 90 days, that's how I like plan. It will not be the same person doing the same things. Like, yes, the core, the values don't change, but the amount of growing and learning and evolving and becoming through doing really accelerates every timeline. So I'm extremely excited to come back on, because I know it's going to be so much more like, "Holy crap, how did I not know this 2 months ago? Did you know this?" And you're like, "Well, yeah." So this is literally just stuff I've learned within the past couple of months. Not the taking action, but like actually formulating that into a framework and into showing people how I've done it and how other people do it. So it's an exciting journey.
Nice. Well, like I said, I can't wait to hear more about it in the future. So that's just wonderful. I'm looking forward to it already. All right, folks. Keynote speaker, founder, homesteader, parent, and host of the Seed and Society podcast, founder of the Connector Method, also, which is going to be huge, coming to us very soon in a lot of different forms. Makeda Boehm, you've been amazing today. You have just brought the energy, and I know you changed somebody's life today. I know you did. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for being on.
Thank you.
All right, folks, that's been another fantastic episode of the Podcaster Nation. The reason we have such fantastic podcasters on here is because this is the podcast. It's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And we proved today again, to a huge degree, that this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.